everybody. Blanca Lopez, co-chair of the Joint Rail Committee meeting. This month, Metro North has the lead. Can we have this morning's speakers?
Good morning. This morning we have 8 speakers from the public wishing to make comments. It's a reminder that in the interest of time and respect to all other speakers, each speaker has 2 minutes. There will be a beep at 30 seconds, warning the time remaining. There'll be a beep at 30 seconds, reminding of how much time is remaining. As a reminder to all speakers, they have 2 minutes as a courtesy. Please make sure that you are courteous and keep to time. Our first speaker will be Kara Girl, followed by Miriam Fisher.
Good morning. I'm Kara Girl, Planning and Advocacy Manager at PCAC, the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA. The next capital plan is here, and with it, $12 billion in projects for the railroads. There are some really vital projects in the works for the Long Island Railroad and Metro North riders, and we're glad to see some of our major concerns addressed in this plan. We'll see resiliency upgrades, like drainage improvements and flood prevention on the Hudson Line to protect riders from extreme weather. We'll see more accessible stations and more riders who can benefit from rail service around the region. We'll see interlocking upgrades, capacity improvements, and signal renewals to keep riders moving more reliably. And we'll finally see new rail cars to replace the M3s and new locomotives for west of Hudson, which will both improve the rider experience while also improving service. Overall, hundreds of thousands of current and future railroad riders stand to benefit from this capital plan. There's just one $16.5 billion elephant in the room, Governor Hochul and her pause on congestion pricing, 10% of which was slated for each railroad. Railroad riders will suffer because of her reckless, illegal decision to dig a $16.5 billion hole in the last capital plan, just as we figure out how to fund tens of billions of dollars for the next plan. We're ready to work with the legislature to find creative ways to do that, but it's too late to go back to the drawing board on congestion pricing. Pencils down. Instead, let's draw up some ways to make transit work for all riders. We propose expanding fare incentives like City Ticket with transfers, closing the gap in the senior and disability half fare to include the morning peak, and finally bringing fair fares to the commuter rails in New York City. We think these programs would work great to get riders on board, together with congestion pricing. Governor Hochul, unpause the pause and get railroad riders moving. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Miriam Fisher, followed by Murray Bowden.
Hello? Do you hear me? Am I audible?
You are.
Okay, my phone is ringing. I'm going to ignore it. To all my accessibility colleagues and activists who I know usually have a chant before the Monday meeting, I celebrate raising awareness and sharing a step forward for us all. I am a resident of Chelsea and struggle with an inaccessible subway steps. I've had 3 back surgeries, facing a 4th knee surgery, hit by a taxi, in a coma for 9 days. It's a terrible struggle. On 6th Avenue and 23rd Street, we have an inaccessible subway renovated in 2018, but no elevator included, a violation today. On the same block as Sellis Manor, a 12-story residence for hundreds of people who are with disabilities, visually impaired, and various other disabilities. I advocate to start the repair of 23rd Street here at 6th Avenue and 23rd. Chelsea is an inaccessibility and accessibility desert. 5 stations, Hudson to East River, only 1 accessible on Park Avenue South. There's a rally planned on 23rd Street, 6th Avenue by the subway for Monday, the 30th at 9:30 for accessibility. Come and join us. The connection to the nearest accessible subways on 14th and 34th are bus rides. Many bus stops without seating or shelter from the weather, heat, cold. Buses uptown are slow facing gridlock towards the
Please
major
conclude your
transit
remarks.
hub of Port Authority. It's difficult for people with disabilities. Come to join the rally for more accessibility in Chelsea. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. As a reminder, all remarks are supposed to be on topic on something on our committee agenda. If you can please contain your remarks to the committee agenda and please try to keep within your allotted time. Our next speaker is Murray Bowden, followed by Maddie's Bucky's Highland.
Keeping on the agenda is, my point is safety. Safety is always on the agenda. I've made suggestions, and some are heard, some are not. But I've come to the realization that I've gone as far as I can go. I've had ideas. I'll be glad to meet with anybody, anywhere, and discuss this and see what's worth following up and what's worth not. I've gone as far as I can go. I'm pushing dementia and working very hard to slow it down as much as I can. My physical stuff, I'm able to stand because I used to be a marathon runner. I've been walking around with 3-pound weights on my ankles to strengthen my legs, so I can stand here, but I can't walk great distances, which is why I've got the wheelchair behind me. I want to thank all the people that I've worked with here, my professional friends, who've taught me. I couldn't do this by myself. There have been hundreds of people who've helped me, given me ideas. Some work, some don't work. But Jono's right. There's nothing like face-to-face conversations. I get to see you here. I've had conversations with people that I haven't had before because we were here and we were talking to each other. So being back at the office is absolutely the best way to go because that's where problems get solved. Face-to-face, I can look at all of you, see your involvement, and see who's more important to read their mail to listen to me. Thank all of the people who I've worked with all these years. I expect this is the last time I'll be here. Circumstances may change and I may come again. But thank you all who've helped me all these years. Nice to be here.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Maddie Bucky's Highland, followed by Omar Vera.
Thank you, Mr. Butter, and good morning, everybody. I'm Matty W. Bucky's Highland. Today, I want to speak about two things. First, accessibility and the combo ticket. On Friday, September 13th, I was walking at the Harrison station in Westchester. I used to use the elevator to go to Grand Central. I want to get the combo ticket back to my home station in Seaford. They don't have it on the machine, even at one way. So I would hope for the MTA to consider that to put, combine fares if you're using the Long Island and Metro North, so that you have Grand Central Madison now open. That's all I'll have to say for this one. Thank you, Mr. Bitter, and God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Omar Vera, followed by Christopher Greif.
Morning, everyone. I don't have much to say, but just that regarding fares and stuff, we should expand the rollout of Omni into the commuter rails, and with that, we can make it more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Christopher Greif, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good morning, everyone, and I apologize. My camera's not on, which I'll turn it on so I'm speaking. This is Christopher D. Greif as an advocate for people with disabilities. There we go. We definitely need to make clear that we definitely need the capital project for all the accessibilities as I look at the list, and I'm glad to see those stations. But at the same time, we need to have more additional cameras. We need more MTA police part of that, because the more the safety at stations, the more if they see something, they do handle it. And I have seen this in Brooklyn, I have seen this in Queens, and I have seen this in other bigger stations. But at the same time, also, we need to stop this fare invasion that also goes to our railroads as well. We need to make clear that not just on the Long Island Railroad, but Metro North as well. But we do need to have more advertising about fare invasion and the CARES and others. So let's do our part to make sure accessibility is in that point, not just in New York City, but New York to the islands of Long Island. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your remarks. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Andy Quinto.
Good morning, everybody. Jason Anthony. That should be working from a Amazon fulfillment center in Richmond County, but due to a unforeseen circumstances, is here. A proud member from the Long Island Railroad ADA Task Force, who is in full support of the capital program. I'm way glad to see that East New York is included in the capital plan. I took the Metro North from Grand Central to Fordham. I was pleased to see the MTA police on board the train. We wish to see this more. I wish that in Kathy's team to see more advertisement of Metro North Cares, because we need to market this program more, because we have been seeing contrary messages throughout social media, the website, and elsewhere. On Friday, I was privileged to be in a press conference regarding the progress of the construction at Babylon. I know that Rob and his team are doing a wonderful job of getting the Long Island Railroad to 100% ADA accessible. I hope that Metro North will get up and do it as well. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you for your remarks. Our final speaker is Andy Quinto. Please unmute yourself within the Zoom.
Hey, good morning. I'm back again, after a long hiatus. Let's talk about the service plan for Long Island Railroad during the VMA. It was an absolute disaster. I took the train from Grand Central, and all the train that was stopping until around the 7 o'clock hour was only Hempstead train. And they were running between every 30 to 45 minutes, which is completely unacceptable for an event like this. I know nobody cares. Jason Anthony, Passengers United, Pine Power. And speaking of John Mitchell, he's once again harassing people at the Mineola Long Island Railroad Station. And he harassed people at the Elmont Station during the VMAs, calling us snobs and all that. First of all, I pay so much money, my hard-earned money, to go to the VMAs, and for the MTA to not provide extra trains, not having extra Ronkonkoma and Huntington trains stopping at UBS Arena during that day, completely unacceptable. You guys need to do better, We pay high fares just for you guys to screw us over. And by the way, I met Donna, Paola after the VMAs, outside, and I just took the train back to my hood. But get your shit together, Long Island Railroad. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We demand better. You guys are being like New Jersey Transit at this point. And speaking, why is Hollis Station not included in the plan? That station looks horrible. It needs ADA accessible. It needs modern day elevators and platforms. It looks like a train station from the 1800s. Absolute embarrassment. That's all I gotta say. Kick John Mitchell, and thank you for your time. Get your act together, Long Island Railroad, for extra service at UBS Arena, especially for award shows. Thank you.
Thank Thank you for your remarks. I'd like to remind all public speakers to abide by our rules of decorum, which include not disparaging others, as well as using appropriate language. Madam Chair, that concludes our public speaking program.
Thank you, Andy. The key performance metrics report is in your book. Moving on to administrative items, we did not have a meeting last month, so we have the approvals of the meeting minutes for July 29th. They have been distributed. Thank you, Mr. Herbst. A second? Thank you, Lisa. All in favor? Meeting minutes are approved. Kathy, Rob, are there any changes to your respective work plans?
There are no changes to the Metro North work plan.
Thank you.
No changes.
Thank you. Moving on to the agency president's reports. We'll hear from both railroads. Kathy will go first as Metro North is in the lead.
Thank you, Chair Lopez. Because of the capital program presentation, that's going to be a little bit further down in the agenda. I'm going to be covering the operations report as well this month. I'm going to start with ridership. August was another strong month for ridership, even taking into account the normal August lull and the month's severe weather events. Metro North served 5.45 million customers in August, which is an increase of 6.5% from August of 2023, representing 74.7% of 2019 pre-COVID ridership. Average weekday ridership saw the typical dog days of August decrease, but weekend ridership remained strong, standing at 83.5% of our pre-COVID levels. As we've seen on both railroads, return to work really is a thing post-Labor Day. We're seeing clear evidence of this in our September ridership. The week ending Sunday, September 15th, was a post-COVID record-setting week for Metro North. The first full week after the end of the summer vacation season produced the following records, which represent highs in terms of both trips and recovery. Average weekday ridership rose to a record 224,932. Weekday ridership standing at 78% of September of 2019. If you look at Tuesdays through Thursdays, which are our busiest days of the week, the ridership on those days rose similarly to a new record of 230,176, which is the first time that this metric has topped 230,000, which represents approximately 79.8% of our September 2019 ridership. Weekend ridership was boosted by beautiful weather and an average of just over 10,000 trips each day to and from Yankees' always popular series against the Red Sox, for which we operated extra service, and that ridership was up 24.6% over the previous weekend. A new average of 127,584 riders per day was set, which is up 5% over the previous post-COVID record weekend of June 8th through 9th. New post-COVID day of the week records were also set for Thursday, Friday, and Sunday of that week. On the operations report, our service delivered rate for August was 99.8%. Our system-wide OTP for August was 97.9%, which exceeds our goal of 94%. Year-to-date OTP was also above goal at 98.3%. There were 8 incidents, that negatively affected our on-time performance in the month of August. The incidents with the greatest impacts took place on August 9th. A continuous conditional power supply alarm caused Hudson Line trains to run at restricted speeds for 5 miles near Beacon. A fallen tree at Hartsdale on the Harlem Line required single tracking for clearance and third rail repairs, and multiple circuit issues on the Harlem Line also led to delays. In terms of our fleet reliability, the mean distance between failures for July 2024 was more than 330,000 miles, which surpasses our goal of 200,000 miles. Effective Sunday, October 6th, schedules on the Harlem, Hudson, and New Haven lines will be adjusted to accommodate major track work as well as ongoing projects. I'm happy to report that the New Haven line will see a 1 to 2 minute reduction in AM, PM, and weekend train times thanks to recent signal system upgrades. The October schedule will also bring back our popular leaf peeper trains, yes, easy for me to say, on the Hudson Line, our shopper schedule trains on the New Haven line over the holidays, and schedule adjustments for the fall and winter holidays. I'm also happy to report that we are launching a pilot program to enhance restroom cleanliness. Starting today, QR code posters in select restrooms will allow customers to provide real-time feedback on their experience. This feedback will be sent immediately to our mechanical or stations department for prompt action. All 65 posters will be installed by October 3rd. I just want to thank the MTA IT department, customer service, and marketing as we strive to improve upon our customer satisfaction. August was a difficult month for weather events, with storms on the 3rd and the 18th having particularly detrimental effects on the railroad service. The August 18th storm dropped between 6 and 8 inches of rain across Connecticut's Naugatuck Valley, which is the home of our Waterbury branch, and higher amounts elsewhere in the state. While the New Haven Main Line, the New Canaan branch, and the Danbury branch were all affected by this heavy rainfall on the 18th, the Waterbury branch incurred the most damage and remains out of service and will stay so for the next several weeks. There were washouts and track damage at Seymour and Beacons Falls, Connecticut. The washout at Seymour, which is next to the Naugatuck River at Kinneytown Dam, was particularly significant. The Connecticut Department of Transportation, which owns the trackage in the state of Connecticut, has engaged a third-party contractor to restore and harden this embankment, and we expect that our crews will begin restoration of the trackbed and signals in the third week in October, with train service estimated to resume by early to mid-November. In the meantime, working with the Connecticut Department of Transportation, we're providing a full-schedule substitute bus service for the Waterbury branch. This week, we're launching a mini survey for our Harlem and Hudson customers. We're using this opportunity to get more targeted feedback on areas of concern that were identified in the spring customer count survey regarding perceptions of capacity concerns on our trains and also a stated desire for more frequent peak and off-peak service. Metro North has some of the highest customer satisfaction scores of any commuter railroad in the nation, but we can't become complacent. We're a firm believer in the maxim that frequency builds ridership, and we take seriously the slight dip in customer satisfaction that we saw this spring. We'll report back to the committee on the results of this survey. Finally, as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month across the MTA, we recognize the invaluable contributions of the many employees at Metro North of Hispanic heritage that drive our success. Among them is Kendall Ortiz, our Deputy Director of Maintenance of Way Training, whose dedication and leadership have earned him recognition within the transportation industry. Kendall's originally from the Dominican Republic, and he's been named to Mass Transit Magazine's 40 Under 40 list. This prestigious honor highlights young leaders shaping the future of public transportation. Kendall's inclusion on this list reflects his exceptional contributions at Metro North. Kendall started at Metro North as a track worker in 2013, and his rise to Deputy Director of Maintenance of Way Training demonstrates his ambition and leadership. In his role in the training department, he's been instrumental in developing training programs that improve safety and efficiency across the railroad. His leadership in revamping the new hire track worker program has been particularly significant, ensuring that new employees embrace Metro North's strong culture of safety and operational excellence. And this is me at the Park Avenue Viaduct. This is a project you're going to be hearing about a little bit as part of the capital program update that Jamie and I are going to be giving on the Metro North Capital Program. I just wanted to give a shout out to the project team. I was there on Saturday. It was a beautiful morning, and the work is really incredible. It's an incredibly important state of good repair project for the railroad. Really happy to be partnering with C&D on such an important investment. So that concludes my president's report. Any questions?
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions? If not, moving on to Long Island Rail. Rob?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Summer ridership and on-time performance remain strong in the summer, considering that we see normal dips in the summertime, but we had a really good summer. July ridership increased 14.9% as compared to July of last year, and for August of this year, we saw a 12% increase over August of last year. Non-commutation continues to impress, as once again we exceeded the same month in 2019 for both July and August. This is an important milestone as it marks 12 months in a row that we have surpassed 2019 ridership and non-commutation, and it shows that ridership is recovering. Total year-to-date ridership compared to last year is 16.3% above last year, and another good mark as well is monthly commutation ridership increased 18.9% as compared to last year. This increased ridership has meant we have met or exceeded 80% of 2019's ridership for 4 consecutive months, May through August, which surpasses the original ridership projections. And new for September, we set a new post-COVID one-day ridership mark with 261,264 customers on September 18th. This surpassed the previous record by 10,000 customers, pretty significant. And as Kathy, I'll be briefly giving the operations report this month as well. There's more detailed information in the book. On-time performance for the month of July was 95.6%, and for August was 94.5%. Year-to-date as of August, we're at 95.5%, all above goal. For mean distance between failure for July, we hit 166,391 miles, and July year-to-date, we're at 160,347 miles, both above goal. And for service delivery, we hit 99.6 of our trips completed. Looking at summer ridership a little more closely, from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day, the Long Island Railroad transported over 20 million customers. That's a 13% increase over the same period in 2023. East End summer travel is always a boost to our ridership. This season, Montauk Branch diesel-only ridership was up 19% overall for that same period. It was up 10% on Fridays and an even more impressive 44% on Thursdays, which was something we identified before the season through constant analysis of ridership trends, and why we instituted a new train that was extended from Spionk to Montauk on Thursdays for the summer. We also successfully provided service to the U.S. Open event as ridership exploded this year, surpassing last year's mark by 24%, about 127,000 customers. On Friday, I joined Construction and Development President Jamie Torres Springer, who's with us here today, Board Member Mark Herbst, and General Chairman Anthony Simon as we broke ground on the 2-year renovation of Babylon Station. This long-awaited project will bring that heavily used station into the 21st century. The modern new transit facility will feature 2 new 12-car platforms, automated snow and ice melt technology, new canopies, stairs, handrails, escalators, and brand new ADA-compliant elevators. So what this means is that we're going to replace the elevators that exist on the east end of the platform, but in addition to that, we're installing elevators on the west end of the platform. So at Babylon, there'll be elevators both at the east and west end of the station from street level up to the platform. That's accessibility. This is in addition to upgrades to the waiting room and bathrooms. The work will occur in 2 stages, as work has already taken place on the western halves of the platforms first until about May 2025. Then there'll be a break in the summer allow for increased ridership for the summer, and then the eastern halves on the platforms will begin September of next year, with the 12-car platform scheduled to open of May of 2026, a really remarkable project. We are extremely excited about this major station improvement for one of our busiest stations on Long Island, and thank the construction and development team for their continued partnership. When we met last May, in July, I detailed plans to improve on-time performance through Jamaica. I am happy to report we have already implemented many of the initiatives to deliver on this goal. One very noticeable initiative was to enhance station signage. So up on the East End overpass, we installed 4 new large LED track posting boards and placed them in the side alcoves above the platforms, as opposed to having one screen in the center of the mezzanine, which blocked customer flow traffic when customers gathered in front of the screen. We have also reallocated and increased the number of TVMs in the overpass from 3 to 6. Those are ticket vending machines. The added machines plus a clearer main walking area has led to a noticeable improvement in customer flow and a better overall customer experience. As we have presented previously, one of our strategic priorities is to run an efficient railroad. Using the latest technology, the Long Island Railroad has identified a more efficient way to monitor and identify issues along our right-of-way through the use of drones. The drones are operated by our Office of Security. While used for emergency response, the drones are also there to provide operational support. And as an example of their efficiency, and what would have historically taken about 40 hours to inspect vegetation growth between Ronkonkoma and Greenport, a distance of about 55 miles, now takes 16 hours. The footage also identifies debris and other hazards that could damage tracks or rolling stock, and unauthorized ingress and egress areas that could result in a trespasser strike. This helps us to better direct force account efforts and position security assets such as fencing or cameras. Real-time drone footage can be viewed on electronic devices at remote Long Island Railroad locations and are recorded and preserved for future use. I want to thank Bob Murphy and the security team for implementing this and working with the operating departments. Really great efficiency initiative. Last month, a group of Long Island Railroad employees were recognized as MTA Heroes of the Week for their heroism. And this event could have had a very different outcome if not for the actions of 6 members of one of our high-tension crews. While working in Hicksville on the morning of June 4th, the employees noticed black smoke coming from a nearby house. It turned out to be a working house fire, so the foreman immediately notified his fellow coworkers to call 911 as he and another crew member ran for the front door of the house. They banged on the front door and told a young woman and small child to get out immediately. The woman mentioned that people also lived in the rear of the house, so the entire crew ran to the back of the house to investigate. Luckily, no one was inside at that time. The crew also pulled debris away from the house and used a garden hose to slow down the spread of the fire until the fire department was able to arrive. That day, Brendan D. Thomas, Chris Flood, James Bove, Sean Kavanaugh, Stephen Monday, and foreman Craig Lasella took quick action and bravely prevented what could have been a horrible tragedy if they had not acted. What an incredible act of bravery by these employees, and I want to thank them for making the Long Island Railroad extremely proud. That concludes my report, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for this report. Any questions? Yes, Mr.
Thank you. Not really a question, just a comment. The Babylon Station, Rob, that was a fantastic event, the opening. But more importantly, the outreach that we've had. I've been at that station several times, different hours, and you have representatives on the platform. Whenever there's a change, there's a disruption, people are upset, and the help, the staff there has been marvelous. And Kathy, you mentioned about the increase in ridership in Metro North with the Yankees. So naturally, I have to respond to that. This week, the Mets sold out the last 2 days. And before that, I traveled. They did a fantastic job with extra trains at that station and coming into Babylon to see the representatives that late at night, still at the station, guiding people who are probably not normal riders. So to give them the help and the assistance necessary. So they're doing a fantastic job. So kudos to the entire staff for this project. It's going very well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Glucksman.
And while we're thanking, I want to thank Metro North for posting the new schedules for Pascack Valley and the station. And I just noticed them this morning. And I have a question. The QR code thing there, is that updated? I mean, you don't have to change those things all the time, do you? When you change schedules, it still works if it links to the same thing.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? Thank you. We're moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is the MTA proposed capital plan for 25 through 29. We have Jamie Torres Springer, who will walk us through the proposed plan.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. I don't have a clicker, but maybe somebody can run it for me, or Andy will pass it to me. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. It was a momentous occasion for the MTA last week when we launched the new 2025 to 2029 capital plan. We put it out there, and it's posted on our website at mta.info/capital plan. There are copies that have been shared with the members of the committee and the board, and we'll be printing a few more copies as we're able to. And what we wanted to do, myself and Kathy and Rob, was to be here to make a short presentation about what's in the plan, and then make sure that we're available to answer the committee's questions as we head towards a vote of the board to approve the plan, we hope, on Wednesday of this week. I want to note that Steve Barang and Donna Betty from C&D Development Group are really the brains behind this plan, are here, and have focused a lot on railroad infrastructure investment, so are available. And of course, Anthony Tufano, who runs our combined railroad business unit, is here as well for the conversation. So just a note before I pass it along to Kathy and Rob on how we got here. We took this planning process very seriously over the last 5 years. We built it from the bottom up, doing the most rigorous 20-year needs assessment of our 6 million component assets across the system that we have ever done as an organization. And what it demonstrated is that we have significant work to do to rebuild and rehabilitate aging assets such as our signals, bridges, viaducts, tunnels, and traction power systems so we can boost reliability and continue to provide our riders with world-class service. This is some of what's in detail in the 20-year needs assessment and also has been highlighted in the 5-year capital plan proposal as well. On as we look at each asset, we've inventoried it, categorized it, and made an assessment of what's in poor and marginal condition, which needs to be our focus in ensuring state of good repair. There's lots of improvements that we're making to this system as well, and that's an exciting thing, but the fact is that running safe and reliable service is the priority of all of the staff that you see here and that work within the MTA all the time, and I know it's a priority of the board as well, and so we're focused on making that investment as part of this planning process. This is an example of the kind of focus that we're taking to state of good repair within this plan. If you look at these different components of the system, you can see the ones that we start here in 2025 at the beginning of this capital plan period being in a state of good repair in blue or in poor and marginal condition in red. And the power, structures, signals, and station components, we are committed to making progress on each of those components within the time frame of this capital plan. We cannot bring every single asset within this vast system to a state of good repair, and partly because we're fighting against the so-called decay curve, which means that even as we repair assets over time, other assets leave the state of good repair, and they're in poor and marginal condition at the end of that time period. You can see it's in dark red at the bottom of these graphs. But the key thing is here, the blue part of each of these asset graphs is getting larger by the end of this plan. That's the commitment that we've made, is to make progress towards state of good repair across each of these systems. And my colleagues will give you a little bit more detail about how we're doing that. I did also want to note, we also took this from a top-down point of view and said, what is the appropriate level of investment? JP Morgan independently looked at this, gave us an outline of what other industrial asset owners are investing, and found that we should be investing in the order of $16 to $23 billion per year. So that's an important benchmark that gives us support for the plan that we've put out. The comptroller for the state independently made an assessment that we should be in this range of $57 to $92 billion, and our $68 billion total plan for the MTA system is right in the middle of that. And then, of course, we are addressing inflation. We had a $55 billion plan, or are in the midst of a $55 billion plan for 2020 to 2024, and we've all seen inflation, in every part of our lives. It certainly has impacted construction cost escalation as well, to the tune of roughly 30%. And so if we just look at our $55 billion plan and escalate it by 30%, then we're also in the range of the plan that we have proposed. But we are doing everything we can to be responsible about that plan. We've built an organization at MTA Construction and Development, as is evidenced in Kathy and Rob describing the Park Avenue Viaduct, the Babylon work, a lot of other work that's able to award significant amounts of contract work, get the work done within our system. So we've sized the plan to that capacity that we have. That's where we're coming from in the total size of the plan. And what it yields for Metro North to start with is a $6 billion allocation that is primarily focused on state of good repair. But we also, as Kathy I'm sure will describe, have focused in the last few months and years on the Grand Central Artery itself, and determined that we need to treat that like a mega project, allocated funding to that both for work that we will perform ourselves and to public-private partnership work to rehabilitate the Metro North train shed. So there's an allocation for that, as well as to network expansion across the MTA system. And with that, I'd like to pass it on to Kathy and then Rob to walk through the components of the plan.
Thank you, Jamie, and thank you to the entire C&D team for your partnership in terms of getting us to this point. You know, the planning people, the delivery people, it really is a team effort, and we're really grateful for your partnership in getting us to this point with respect to this presentation. So as Jamie indicated, really the focus of the Metro North capital program for the next 5 years is state of good repair, those investments in our infrastructure, you know, frequently our invisible infrastructure that are necessary for us to be able to continue to provide safe and reliable and frequent service. I think you went backward, Annie. There you go. There are various elements of these state of good repair investments. Why don't we just go to the next slide and we'll kind of get into that. So as Jamie noted, rolling stock is a big area of focus here. We are still, both railroads are still operating the M3s on our property. These are 1980s rail cars that went onto the property before there was an ADA, so they're not ADA compliant, and they also are suffering from parts obsolescence and other reliability issues. So working together with Long Island Railroad and our procurement team, we're in the process of getting a procurement to have 9 M9As, the latest electric fleet to replace the M3 fleet. The other two rolling stock priorities in this upcoming capital program is to begin the replacement of the locomotives for our West of Hudson service, as well as starting replacing our aged coaches that serve our diesel lines. I'm thrilled about the story of the Grand Central Artery, to have the capital program team recognize that this is a significant asset that requires a significant investment wholly apart from our core program. As you've heard over, I think, the last couple of years, there are essentially 3 segments that we're talking about here when we say the artery. I mean, the word artery really reinforces how central this, how important this feature is to the safety and reliability of Metro North service. So you're talking about the terminal itself. You know, there were investments made in the 90s to the customer-facing elements of Grand Central Terminal, but there's a lot of back-of-house systems that are really in sore need of repair and investment. So that's included in this program. The train shed, you've also heard a little bit about over the course of the last several years. This is the structure over the Grand Central Rail Yard, and it has deteriorated, as you can see in this graph, quite significantly over the years. And you know, we've been making the case together with C&D for the need for these investments. We've made some partners in the private sector with respect to jump-starting this work, and this train shed work will continue as a priority in the capital program. There's the Park Avenue Tunnel. There will be fire life safety investments in the tunnel. And then the viaduct, which is already underway. The replacement of that 100-year-old plus structure is underway, proceeding very well, and that project will continue. Track and structures, again, invisible infrastructure, but really key to being able to run the safe and reliable service that our customers expect. We're going to double our investment in track replacement, which includes the creation of a new gang, and we're going to make a concerted investment in our bridge structures through repainting and replacements as necessary. As you can see from this chart here, nearly 50% of our undergrade bridges are in poor or marginal condition, which is just unacceptable, and there are investments in this plan to be able to address that. Power, again, a behind-the-scenes element that is incredibly important with respect to the reliability of the service. We're going to be building 4 new substations, replacing components, and starting to replace steel third rail with aluminum. As you can see here, the need is significant, right? 88%, which is a huge number. 88% of our substations are in poor and marginal condition. Power has really been, under-resourced and under-invested in past capital programs. So this capital program will begin to address that situation. So improving the customer experience, there's an element also of safe and reliable service, right? I mean, we have a significant number of stations, especially on the Harlem line, but not exclusively on the Harlem line, that have deteriorating platforms that affect the safety of our customers. So we have hollow core platforms as a particular technology for platform replacement from the 1990s. These platforms particularly are deteriorating at a very significant rate. So there will be investments in this capital capital program in Harlem line stations that are now, as you can see from this picture here, being held up by 4x4s. The Crestwood platform, where I was on Thursday with the Senate Majority Leader, there's a portion of that platform that is actually closed because structurally it is not safe for our customers to use that platform. This is not an acceptable situation. This capital program will make investments in Harlem line stations to be able to address this. In addition, we will have could just back up for a sec. In addition, we will be making 2 more stations fully accessible. That's Wakefield in the Bronx, as well as Ludlow in Yonkers in Westchester County. Station environment. So in addition, well, this is basically what I just said, right? So we have renewal candidates on the Harlem line. This is a significant issue for Metro North and a significant area of focus in this capital program. Climate change. You remember this picture from Ida. This is near Warburton Avenue in Yonkers. Ida was particularly devastating to the Metro North infrastructure. In addition to this mudslide near Yonkers, we had a washout of a culvert in Dobbs Ferry. All of you saw the photos last year of a retaining wall failure near Briarcliff Manor. So this capital program will really begin and jumpstart the investments that are necessary into the resiliency of the Hudson line, especially the lower portion of the line from Croton Harmon south. We got some significant funding from the state legislature just this spring to be able to begin that investment, and we're thrilled that the capital program recognizes the importance of Hudson line resilience to the overall safety of the operation. It's not just Metro North that runs over the Hudson line, you'll recall. I mean, Amtrak runs service up to Albany and beyond, and CSX actually travels over this line, bringing trash out of the city up our Hudson line. So the safety and the resiliency of the Hudson line is important, not just to Metro North customers, but to the entire region. So we'll be addressing the slopes as well as addressing the track level, drainage improvements, other improvements to be able to make this line more resilient in face of the challenges of climate change. I wish it were just the Hudson line. It's not just the Hudson line. As you'll recall, Mott Haven, which is where all 3 lines come together, it's a low-lying area that frequently in heavy downpours will sustain significant flooding. Just about this time last year, with Ophelia, we were completely shut down for a time because of flooding in Mott Haven. So this is another project as part of the overall Metro North resiliency effort that will be taken care of as part of this capital program. That's it, right? And that concludes my remarks. Any questions before we turn things over to Rob, or do we want to do questions at the end? Want to do questions at the end? Yeah, let's do questions at the end. Okay.
Good. All right. As we've communicated previously, the Long Island Railroad is focused on safety, reliability, and the customer experience. Our proposed 2025 to 2029 capital plan has been designed to deliver on that focus. I'm excited to present some of the specific elements of our next capital plan and want to thank our partners at Construction and Development, as well as the team at the Long Island Railroad for their tireless work that went into developing this extremely comprehensive plan. All right, back up one, there we go. At more than $6 billion, this plan will invest significantly in Long Island Railroad's state of good repair. State of good repair should be the foundation of any capital plan, no matter what industry you're in. The Long Island, the Long Island Railroad has introduced a lot of new infrastructure over the last 5 years. We need the rest of the system to catch up. You cannot support that new infrastructure if the rest of your system is in a state of disrepair and not well maintained. This program lays the foundation to get us to a state of good repair. So why do we need all this investment in our system? So we can continue to provide frequent, safe, and reliable service. We need to upgrade our aging infrastructure. This means the nuts and bolts of our system. To continue to provide the high levels of service, it starts with our rolling stock. As you know, the Long Island Railroad depends on our M3 fleet of cars, which are approaching 40 years old and have millions of miles on them. These cars have significantly less reliability and cost a lot to maintain. With this program, we will purchase M9As, finally retire the M3 fleet. We are also looking to update our rolling stock fleet as a whole by including purchasing new Tier 4 dual-mode locomotives for cleaner, more efficient service in diesel and electric territory. We'll also start to replace and upgrade our coaches and replacing our fleet of work locomotives as well. We just spoke about electric car purchases. Well, you can't operate electric cars if you don't have a reliable power delivery system. There is a significant backlog in modernizing our power substations across the system. In this plan, we will renew or rehabilitate 16 substations, making a substantial step toward a state of good repair. We have about 57 substations that are at least 50 years or older, so we need to invest heavily in this area. As the Long Island Railroad celebrated its 190th birthday, it was also a reminder of how old a lot of our infrastructure is, which is also more than a century old. We will repair and waterproof 45 bridges and viaducts, making them more aesthetically pleasing and safeguarding them from deterioration. I just want to stress this program will also fund bridge painting. We know how important that is in the communities that we serve. We'll also rehabilitate the Atlantic Avenue Tunnel that allows for our extremely reliable and frequent Brooklyn service to operate, much of which hasn't been upgraded since it was first constructed well over 100 years ago. In every plan, a major component is keeping up with our track replacement program. Paul, don't get up and cheer, right? I know, exciting. Which is truly the backbone of our infrastructure. In this plan, we'll also move on to the next phase of Jamaica capacity improvement, part of our long-term strategy to modernize the tracks that run through Jamaica and eliminate the Jamaica crawl, which is an essential element to the improvement of on-time performance in Jamaica, as we've spoken about previously. Jamaica is the absolute key to our operation. And just touching briefly, as we talk about track, signal as well. We have areas of our infrastructure, our system, that the signal system dates back to the 40s and 1960s. So it's a real area that we need to focus on and improve as signal and track work hand in hand. Okay. Even as this plan is focused on state of good repair and our existing infrastructure, we know we need to continue planning for the future. This plan includes an $800 million allocation to be used across the agencies to advance promising expansion of capacity upgrade projects. On Long Island, that will mean additional planning work and possibly early work, depending on the results, for upgrades to the main line from Ronkonkoma to Yaphank, the Port Jefferson branch, and the Montauk branch. This plan strikes a good balance between necessary state of good repair and working to build and modernize our system. Now, I know a lot of people want to see the call-outs of specific modernization or expansion projects. I just want to point out that within this plan are elements to help support those future initiatives to expand the service. As an example, the Port Jefferson branch, we're going to re-signal a portion of that, which will accommodate double track, and also re-signalize between Babylon and Sayville, which is absolutely essential to the reliability and the ability to run more frequent trains even further out east. So while there's not a specific call out to it, please understand that there is work taking place within this program that takes that into consideration and moves things forward. As we've presented previously, improving the customer experience is a strategic priority at the Long Island Railroad. A key element of that is our stations. After all, it is the first thing our customers see when they use our services. This plan will make significant investments in our station environments and accessibility. That includes doing state of good repair work at our stations. We'll renew at least 5 stations, including Floral Park in Port Washington, and perform component work at many more. In response to customer feedback, we'll also invest to upgrade the Western Bridge at Jamaica with improved vertical circulation to improve transfers. And this work also includes not only the big rehabilitation, rebuilding of station, but it also includes day-to-day maintenance at work, component replacement, lighting, signage. The plan actually helps that, things that people see every day. And we'll continue our progress on ADA accessibility. We'll make at least 4 more stations accessible, bringing us to 98% of our stations by the end of this program. While less glamorous but just as important, work will include renewing stations, replacing 15 elevators and escalators. Finally, we'll continue to do our part to address climate change. We've made a lot of progress protecting the system since Superstorm Sandy, and will continue to strategically implement resilient infrastructure as we do state of good repair projects throughout the system. This includes raising our right-of-way infrastructure, especially in known flooding locations. As you can see, this is an extremely comprehensive plan which addresses our immediate needs, solidifies our infrastructure, makes progress in getting our system to a state of good repair, and plans for the future to ensure Long Island and the region remain a place where people want to live and work. That concludes my update.
Thank you for these reports. Questions or comments? Yes, Randy.
Thank you. At the committee meetings I've attended this morning, we talk about replacing equipment that's nearing 40 years of age. I rode this morning on a train powered by equipment that was built in 1966. It's been overhauled. This is one of 15 locomotives Metro North owns for west of Hudson. I'm pleased that they're including it in there. I don't think there are too many people that are in this room who are, I am, but the people that are younger than that age of locomotive. And so I'm greatly appreciative that this something will be finally done on our side. Thank you.
Jerry?
Yeah, no, I'd like to thank the people who put together the program, particularly for the Long Island Railroad. I think it checked most of the most critical boxes for us. Particularly pleased to see when you talk about accessibility, Met's Willis Point. That's something I've been banging a drum on for many years. And I know you're only in the design stages or talking about it now, but the Yaphank one doesn't seem very substantial, but to me, because we already have the money in the budget to build a brand new station, and to build that brand new station out there for the Brookhaven National Laboratory, but not having electrified, it just didn't seem to make sense. So the fact that we actually are looking at that, that is huge. So again, I just want to thank you. You've checked most of the critical boxes as far as I'm concerned. So thank you.
Co-Chair Herbst?
Thank you. I also want to share the same sentiment about the Yaphank station. It's included in the plan. That 800 figure, 800 million added, it has a lot of opportunities. So I think that's probably, of the three different major programs that we're looking for planning purposes for Long Island, electrifying the Port Jefferson line, finishing Ronkonkoma, going out to Yaphank, and also some improvements on the Montauk branch. But people are excited on Long Island. We've had major improvements. We had the second track put in from Farmingdale out to Ronkonkoma, and then the wonderful third track program that is a complete success and how that was done. And people in our community are interested and excited about future opportunities for further expansion. But in comparison, if people say this capital program doesn't allow us to electrify the Port Jefferson branch, I think people need to realize the magnitude of such a project. If we turned around tomorrow and said, we want to electrify it, let's do it. In order to design, plan, and get ready and go through EIS process, it's going to take more than 5 years. We'll be beyond this existing capital program. So what's being done right now is to anticipate, plan, and provide opportunities for improvements, as Rob said, that we can do during this time frame. But it's also, when you look at something like that, the Port Jefferson branch line is 23 miles. The third track was less than 9 miles. So it is a tremendous, tremendous program that we're looking at. So we should appreciate that and know that if we are going to move forward, we've got to keep moving forward and make those improvements to make sure that when we can actually have this happen, we've done everything so there won't be any problems in the way of getting acquisition of land, adding the second tracks and those types of things that this capital program includes. The Montauk branch, I know we've got some concerns or questions about that, and this program at least will allow us to strategically look at the planning and address the needs of those communities. So I'm very supportive and appreciate that the staff has listened. Jamie and your crew have done a marvelous job, as long as both of the railroads, so thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments or questions? Yes, Norm.
Yeah, I have a personal curiosity in how the P3 thing is going to work in Metro North train shed improvements, but that's not what I want to address here, though. I only brought that up. I only asked that. You know, yeah, but you know, ultimately, I could call him up and he'd give me a good answer, I'm sure. But did I see that 93% of the signals are below grade or needing below state of good repair?
Yep.
Well, you know, I know that a lot of what you're doing here is triage with a, you know, a calm look on your face about, you know, budget crises. There's no reason to, you know, run around hair on fire all the time. I understand that, but I'm not sure that with 93% of signals, failing state of good repair is something that shouldn't be hair on fire crises. And maybe it's all part of, you can't do the signal improvements in a lot of areas until you get the drainage improvements in, 'cause there's a lot, you know, Metro North survives a lot on those signals. And it's not my members particularly, but we have, of course, among the people that I represent, the signalman from Acre. And, you know, for you to acquire the labor to do this, to the extent you're using our people, is going to take time. And you don't want to be stumbling around with the project when it just seemed to me that you lose a number like that in terms of all these other numbers. And you know, you could look at the 50% of track being out of state or good repair too. And you could look at any of these as I mean, that would be a severe problem by itself. But looking at that, I mean, I'd like to say, what are you going to do about that 93%?
Go ahead. You go, then I'll go.
Board Member Brown, you're right on, you know, the same wavelength as us. I mean, what we have been trying to do is to call the attention of the board and the public to the fact that we are running the first and second busiest railroads, commuter railroads in North America, carrying 450,000 passengers a day, and you know, the teams at Long Island Railroad and Metro North are achieving these high 90s% on-time performance when the track and the signals and the power systems and the structures and the stations are falling into a state of disrepair. And that is why we have brought this plan. It is over $14 billion of investment. That is the vast majority of it concentrated on state of good repair, because we have to make those investments. And with regard to, I mean, both railroads have considerable issues that we've identified. We are very much sounding the alarm on the Metro North assets, as we've talked about, the stations on the Harlem line, the sea level rise impacting the Hudson line, as well as heavy rainfall from the other flank, and then the condition of these key assets like signals. And there's a big investment in signals here. I will mention that we are rebuilding the lower Hudson signals, the signals on the lower Hudson line now. The upper Hudson line has funding for construction in this program and design for the upper Harlem line. So I believe in total we have a $600 million investment in signals for Metro North in this proposed capital plan. You know, there are 231 signalized miles in the Metro North system, so it's a lot. But that's why we're making these proposed investments. That's why they're so important.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have that much to add. I mean, I think that to Jamie's point a little while ago, I mean, I think the fact that we've been able to achieve the operational performance that we have over the last several years has had a tendency to mask some of these really significant infrastructure needs, which frankly I think is really a credit to the team that we're managed to, you know, hold the place together and continue to really operate at that level. But eventually that bill becomes due, as you've pointed out, and you know, the investments in the signal system system, but also power is a significant area of need. Stations is a significant area of need. And I guess I want to again call out the importance of having this separate pool for Grand Central, which has basically has two effects. Number one, really focusing attention on Grand Central, but number two, not diverting money away from our core program to take care of Grand Central. So we really have an unprecedented investment in our core assets, as well as an unprecedented recognition of the vast needs in the terminal, which is why I'm really gratified that the program is at the level that it is.
Kathy, can I add one more stat that I dug up as you were talking, which is I noted $600 million in signal investments, and that's a six-fold increase over this plan. We have $100 million in signal investments. And to your point about power, we have between the two railroads a $1 billion investment proposed, and that's because we've all seen what happened to New Jersey Transit riders and Amtrak riders this summer. A lot of that was the condition of their power systems, whether it was their catenary, their substations, or traction power and what was connecting substation capacity in with the rolling stock. We have to deal with all of that, and that's why we have that $1 billion investment in this plan for power for the railroads.
Great. Yes. No.
Yeah, we weren't entirely immune to those power problems either, but I also perceive here a sort of discontinuity between the equipment signalization, where you got more and more of the equipment rising up to the modern signal systems, and the on-the-ground signal systems that are further behind, and that concerns me too. So, it's like the two systems do not match in their level of technological achievement, and it seems like I wouldn't say a waste for all the equipment to be, because you gotta have everything matching, and it seems like it's going to be a struggle, and the failure to fully fund the last capital plan is not going to help that. But I think you guys are doing a good job in the triage you've been given. Picking out the things that can survive and the things that can't. But it's a tough assignment you have.
Thank you. And I echo my colleagues' comments with respect to this plan. It's a critical plan. A lot of the components that make up this portion of the capital plan obviously is an urgent call to action. So how do you prioritize and how do you move forward? But I think we're in good hands. Thank you so much for doing all of the background work in order to present this plan to us. And with that, I just want to keep a close eye on the time. So if we can move forward with the next item on the agenda. I know Kathy and Rob already discussed the operations part as part of your remarks. And then the safety report is in the books? Correct. So now we move on to the police report, MTA police report. Who will be presenting?
Hi, Chief Tom Taffy from the MTA Police Department, Chief of Operations.
Welcome, thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, committee members. I'm here to present the August 2024 Crime and Police Report for the Long Island and Metro-North Railroads. Reports of major crime on the rail systems remain low, with 20 incidents reported in August 2024, 10 on each of the rails, representing a 17% decrease compared to the same period last year. And even with this increased ridership, which makes the actual rate a lot more significant. And as we've heard in the subways, nearly half of our incidents also involve larceny, and it's usually of unattended properties. No police district reported more than 4 major crimes. Grand Central Madison continues to be exceptionally safe with no major crimes reported for this month again. Regarding fare evasion, the MTA Police Department continues to support train conductors in fare enforcement by increasing train patrols and positioning officers at key stations. This allows us to intercept trains where fare evasion is a concern. We've observed a significant increase, over 300% actually, in calls related to fare disputes, from an average of 300 calls per month to nearly 1,200 calls a month. To minimize any potential disruptions in train service related to these increased calls, we've deployed police supervisors to rail control centers. This enables us to closely coordinate with the railroad to identify the nearest officer and station, helping to reduce the response times for the police officers. We remain committed to working with the MTA partners to safeguard the system and ensure smooth operations for all passengers. This concludes the August 2024 Crime and Policing Report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Okay, we're moving on to agency information items. Kathy, do you want to take us through the information items for Metro North?
There we go. So the information items are as follows: the 2025 preliminary budget and the 2024 mid-year forecast. They're both in the book. The October 6th schedule change, which I alluded to in my remarks. The diversity and EEO report for the second quarter 2024. The safety and security update, which is 2 PowerPoints in there, which were a work plan item for this month. They are also in the book. And finally, just as an information item, there's a matter that will be going to the Finance Committee and then to the full board for approval, a real estate item, the conveyance of certain property interests to a developer near Tarrytown Station for a TOD project. I call that out because part of that deal will improve the employee parking lot and will require the developer to maintain that on an ongoing basis. As Randy knows, not such a nice parking lot, so this is a big win for the railroad. The other thing that I would point out, the statistics for the signal system that we just gave, the 93%, that's actually the Hudson line. That's not the whole system, so just as a correction. Any questions on any of the information items?
All right. Rob, can you walk us through the information items for Long Island Rail?
Sure. Same with the Long Island Railroad. The preliminary budget and the mid-year forecast are in the book. The diversity EEO report for the second quarter of this year is in the book as well. There's a special presentation for safety and security update is in the book as well. And finally, the track work programs coming up for the next month for the fall are in the book as well.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, with that, the agency finance reports, the July and August finance reports for the rails are in the book, and there are no procurements for the railroad for this month. And with that, I would like to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion? Second? Thank you. All in favor? The meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.